Hello and welcome to Talking Live. I'm Dr. Robi Ludwig right here in Starshot Studio in Times Square. I have been promoting the show and looking forward to the show for so long. Francine Tesler is a psychic medium. She's a psychic, she's a medium, she's a medical intuitive, and she's charming and beautiful in person. And she's here. She's going to talk about several topics. She's going to talk about what she does. She's going to talk about how we can develop our own psychic abilities. And then we're going to mention some celebrities that have been in the news lately to hear what's in their future. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so thrilled I found you. I'm so proud of myself for finding you.
I feel like I know you for 20 years.
I know. So basically, I found Francine on television. She was doing a fabulous segment on Good Day New York. And I saw you and I was like, this woman knows what she's talking about. I have to meet her. I looked her up. I called her. We interacted. We set up a date, and the date has arrived.
Well, it's my birthday gift. My birthday's tomorrow.
Oh, happy birthday. Happy birthday. Oh, okay. So we're going to have to do something nice for your birthday. A lot of people have questions like, what exactly is a psychic medium or medical intuitive? And you're all for descriptions.
Yes. Everyone has a psychic ability. It means kind of like when you have a daydream and a dream and a slideshow, and everyone receives information. Everyone is psychic. It's not a magic or a special ability. You just have to pay attention. So some people can be driving and then they get a little tick on their arm saying, do this or do that. Some people hear things, feel things. We all have it. You just have to pay more attention to it.
Why do you think so many people don't pay attention to this ability?
Because in the world that we live today, everyone gets up, goes to work, comes home, goes to work, and it's very regimented, and we were taught to kind of ignore that. But you have to remember, we're animals, and animals operate on instinct. So if you're walking down a dark road and your hair stands up on your arms, that's your body's way of warning you.
And so when we were talking, I was saying as a therapist, I feel like I'm really intuitive, so I can get a sense about somebody's emotion, or if they're telling me a story, I can kind of fill out the gaps just based on a feeling I get in the session, which I then use to hopefully move the session forward in a helpful, healing way. But I think that's very different than being able to know what's going to happen in the future. It's not the same.
But you're a subconscious empath. It doesn't make you less intuitive. You just may not be able to get it to the next step, or you may not be looking for that.
Okay.
So you can kind of practice it more, and then maybe you can take it to the next level.
So we could talk about that, but maybe that's it. But you really believe that everybody has that ability?
Yes. Just not everyone is meant to be a practitioner. Just like you go to your internist and they can diagnose you, but they're not a surgeon, you don't want them to do surgery on you. Or just like you go to a hairstylist, or a beautiful makeup artist that's in the house.
Yes.
And, they do it really well, but maybe your friend does her own hair, but you wouldn't want her to do yours.
Right. And there are different psychic abilities. And I remember reading a book, and in the book, the woman described herself as a psychic, and she said, not everybody can interpret the signs as accurately. So they might get a sign, but they don't know how to share it in a way that really is relevant for the person in front of them.
Or approachable.
Or maybe.
So sometimes it's in the delivery system. So if you're, there's some people that read cards or use cards, death doesn't mean death. It's like when I'm doing my readings, I see flashes like pieces of puzzles that have been shredded like confetti, and there's no order. It's like a sensory overload. So what'll happen is I'll see something like a door closing. That could be a death, but that could be a divorce or a new beginning.
Yes.
It doesn't mean an absolute.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess, in working with clients over time, you get to know them better and they know you. And it's just like anything else. Working with somebody for a longer period of time, you have the opportunity to be more accurate, I would think.
It's not just accurate. You have a better ability to guide them a little differently or kind of be a little bit more blunt. Because when I first do a reading with someone, I'm blunt, but maybe a little bit more gentle. I don't have a filter.
You talk about not having a filter and also knowing that you were a psychic very early on when you were a young kid, and how people responded to you with this gift.
They freaked out. People would treat me like I was like the devil, or People wouldn't touch me. I still have men I meet, they won't shake my hand.
Oh, wow.
And I know who you are. You're not touching me. I don't want you to read my mind. It's not about that.
Yeah.
And that's when people get ignorant and they get scared of the unknown.
And I think sometimes people feel that way about therapists, and it's like, it doesn't work that way. It's like, I wish I could analyze people that easily. You need to tell me something about yourself first in order for me to have a sense of how to analyze. How did you discover you were psychic when you were younger? You talk about different scenarios that happened.
I've been telling people stuff since I'm a small kid, and I would, a lot of different things that would happen, and I would say, okay, I see this, and then people would freak out because something would happen. Like I had dreamt many years ago that I told my father, don't go to work, and he wouldn't listen, and he actually had an accident and went through the windshield.
Oh, wow.
So
did he listen to your recommendations after that?
No.
No?
He's a guy.
Family, they never listen to you, right?
That's exactly right.
And you also talk about a scenario where your aunt passed, and you said, no, she's right here with us, and she had a message.
Well, she told my parents not to be mad at my uncle, and my parents didn't understand. Well, 6 months later, he remarried, and what happened is my parents stopped talking to him, and then he basically cut them out of the life and everything like that. So
and actually, that's a compliment psychologically, because they have found that people who get married quickly after being widowed or a widower, it means they liked marriage.
Yes.
And they had a good feeling, and he couldn't be by himself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you think people are most interested in finding out about? And I just want to let people know that Francine not only works with individuals, but she talks about business, and you work with companies as well.
And a lot of men.
And do you notice a difference between what companies want to know from you versus people? And I know that there's a difference between
individuals?
Yeah.
Yes. They want to know certain trends. Sometimes I'll sit in on a meeting and tell them if the other company's not being honest. So I'm sitting there as kind of like a spy.
I see.
More now, so but it's pretty interesting.
And so, what do you find individuals want to know most from you?
Health, wealth, love.
Okay.
Are the biggies, which is, that's part of everything, and also a lot of dead people.
Okay. Do you have contact with people on the other side?
But there's no phone number.
Okay. There's no phone number.
That's really
Damn! And here I thought.
Everyone expects, because you watch the other shows, they've been filming for 4 hours. You see a half an hour.
Right.
And they're showing you only the channeled moments. I could sit with 100 people and have no dead people, and then go to the grocery store and walk over to somebody, and it happens all the time, and I'll say something to them, and they'll look at me, and they'll look for cameras. And my best friend calls it psychic Tourette's.
I love that term, how you describe yourself.
That's what she dubbed it. But I just don't realize that not that I don't have a filter, I don't even realize I'm doing it sometimes.
It's just
Even
part
for
of who
my
you are.
readings, I don't remember most of my readings. I only remember my readings because people come back and say, I thought you were crazy and you said this, but this happened. So it's very interesting. It's like a daydream and a dream in a slideshow talking to a 6-year-old. And you see, you hear, you feel, I dream, dead people talk to me, and it's a puzzle board, and it doesn't always make sense to me. All I can do is give you the pieces.
Give the information.
Absolutely.
I love it when you said that people who were quiet in life are quiet on the other side, and people who are loud in life are loud on the other side. And it makes me, it just reminded me of when my grandfather came from the other side to speak to a colleague of mine who's a medium, I guess you would call it, right? Who speaks to the dead, right? And she goes, he's like running over people, and he had something very important to say, and it really sounded like how he was described in life, right? Exactly. And I was like, come on over. I'm happy to hear what you have to say. I never met him in person, but when you said that, I was like, that sounds very true.
Did he kind of look like Mr. Magoo?
I don't know. He was on the shorter side.
Glasses.
Yeah.
White hair.
Oh.
It reminds me of Mr. Magoo. When you said it, I got this image.
So I tell my mother this all the time because he goes, I'm sorry for your mother, it's my fault. And I tell her that all the time. She goes, that's not true, that's not true. I'm like, yeah, that's what he said. That's, I'm only going by what he said. So men and women obviously are different, and they must present different questions to you. So what do you find men ask you most?
Mostly business.
Okay.
And health. So that's the bigger thing. Sometimes they talk about family. It depends on the situation or how many times they've come to me.
Okay.
Same thing with the businesses. So.
How about women? What do women want to know most?
If they're married, if their husband's cheating, that's a biggie. Family, their kids, that's a big deal. And again, health. Not so much with wealth with women, not a lot. I mean, except for my business women. But they want to talk about everything else.
So more social relationships.
Yes.
Because I think women do define their happiness based on that. Not that men don't, but their identity still is very much based in what they do.
Absolutely.
Okay, so there's a question that you talk about that's you can't predict, and that's it's an off topic for you. What is that?
Can't tell you when you're going to live or die.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
And I'm amazed that people want to know their death date. How does that help anyone?
Well, because I'm a medical intuitive, people think that I can say, okay, in this year at this time. But when I talk to somebody, I do body scans. It's sort of like an infrared camera, and I get heat over the body. So I'll say, look, check this or check that, but it's not an absolute. If I get something like this, it could be heart or lung, but it could also be somebody's breast.
Okay.
It doesn't always mean what I think. So I just say, look at this area, if that makes any sense.
And so what is it like for you with friends? I can imagine going out
Very
to lunch.
difficult.
Right? Because I go out to lunch with my friends, I'm like, what do you think about X, Y, and Z? But they're not psychic. I can imagine asking you, what do you think X, Y, and Z? And be like, oh, I don't know if I really want to know.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
And that's why wine is very good.
Yeah, what is it then? Yeah. Then they hear it and forget, or hear it and they tolerate it?
It kind of buffers me a little bit.
Yeah. Because I would think, and it's very similar to me, you have to think about how you share a message and whether someone can take it in. Do you think about that when you're working with somebody? How can I best say this so they can take it in and not be devastated?
I absolutely do. But there are some people that, depending on their energy, I do need to kind of kick them. Because
a confrontation.
Not a physical one, but a verbal one, because otherwise they won't hear it. So if they come to me for the full gamut,
you have to
but
do your
I'm
job.
not going to be mean.
Right.
I just say, look, this is what I'm seeing. Just because I see this road doesn't mean it's 100%, but this is what I'm seeing, and I feel like you're wasting your time with this.
Do you think, this is a little off topic, but do you think that things are predestined, or is there still free will, or
I think that there's both.
Okay.
Which is a weird oxymoron.
Okay.
I believe. So if you think of me as an eagle flying above and looking down at the road, 287 leads to all the highways. So how we get where we're going may be a little different. It may just take you longer. So just because I see something doesn't mean it's 100% written in stone, but maybe it'll take you longer to get there.
And you describe yourself as a map.
Yes.
And you offer guidelines to people.
Absolutely.
To make their life easier.
Absolutely.
And I imagine to avoid certain painful experiences that they don't need to have.
Absolutely. Well, you're kind of like a therapist when you're doing readings also.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's an interesting thing. It can be very draining, which we were talking about before.
Yeah, and I love how you say to your clients that they really should have a space, a 3-month space in between seeing you, so they're not too dependent on you.
And if I see that they are, I kind of say I'm booked, and I push it out more.
Oh, okay.
Because otherwise, somebody could, if they wanted to come to me every week, they would.
They could come every day.
Oh, some people would.
Call every hour on the hour.
But that's not what it's about. It's not about that. My job is to teach people to listen to their own voice so that they can listen and pass the word on and then follow their own thing.
How long are your sessions typically?
In my office, half an hour minimum, 45 minutes and an hour.
And I just want to let everybody know, we are going to have a link up so everybody can access Francine and find out how to hire her, how to benefit from her insights. And Francine, you do phone consultations.
I have people from all over the country and all over the world.
Right, and you work with celebrities, and you can't obviously say, and we respect that, but you are certainly world renowned, and
thank you.
I could see why they would choose you. I could totally see it. Okay, so common misconceptions about psychics?
that we're Madame Zazas or gypsies, or there's magic or spells or curses. I always say that if there was such thing as a curse or evil eye or the Maloki, I would be 100 pounds, a millionaires, and there'd be a lot of pissed off guys out there because they'd be different shapes, you know.
Yes! Can I join you in that venture? That would be a lot of fun.
I'm trying to be a little bit more, not as risque, but...
If somebody wants to develop their own psychic ability, and I know you teach this as well to people, so you offer a course where you help people kind of develop this skill. Where does somebody start?
One of the things I would say is keep a book by your bed, a blank book. When you wake up, the first thing that pops into your head, write it down. Keep another book in your bag, and if you are interacting with somebody and something pops into your head, write it down and then say to them later, this popped into my head, I don't know what it means, does that mean anything to you? But you start to keep a log. When I work with people in classrooms, we actually make like little index cards with symbols, and people practice. It's sort of like cue cards or flashcards. And people concentrate on the shape, and then the person's supposed to, I don't want to say guess it, but they'll say, okay, I see this shape or that shape, and the more that you pay attention, the stronger it'll get.
Interesting. And I'm sure everybody's had the experience where you're thinking of somebody and then they call or they reach out to you. And I imagine that's kind of psychically being linked to certain people.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, so you talked about how to develop this ability. I always wonder what the difference is between kind of a fear and a predictive image, because I'll give you an example. My daughter was telling me she thinks she has psychic dreams, but they're all frightening dreams. Okay. And she had one dream that she says became true. And listen, I'm not one to like question, we just talked about it. But I think, sometimes fears get worked out in our dreams because that's what dreams are supposed to do. So how do we know the difference?
When you dream, you're being held captive audience. So it's like 3 or 4 movies going on at once. So you have the main headliners in the front view, and then there are other things going on behind. So the dreams tend to be precognitive, which means to happen before, will happen, and then fears, and then wishes. But it's not always what's in the foreground that's important, it's what's going on in the scene behind. So there's some really great books, The Dreamer's Dictionary by Lady Stern Robinson and Tom Corbet. It teaches you how to kind of pay attention to your own intuition. But that's why I say keep a book.
Yes.
Also, a lot of times in dreams, if you dream of death, it means a birth. A lot of times it's opposite.
Right. And actually, I don't know if this is true from your perspective, but really Freud said that the person who is the dreamer is really in the best position to analyze their dream because they know what it means, or they have a better chance of knowing what it means.
But you can also change the dream.
Yeah, that's right.
So
I
keep on dreaming I'm going to be on Ellen, so.
Yeah, and Ellen, if you're out there, Francine is wonderful, and she said yes to being on the show, right? You said you'd go on Ellen's show, and I'm sure she'd love to have you. Well, as you know, there have been a lot of celebrities who have been in the news lately, and when we spoke, we talked about some of the celebrities that people most want to hear about. We have a compilation of images. The first and foremost is what's going on with Sarah Jessica Parker and Kim Cattrall, that feud. And I'm a little devastated because I loved Sex and the City. I thought it was such a role model for women and female friendships on how to tolerate each other's differences and speak to each other's strengths. I really think it motivated female friendships to rise to a new level.
Yes.
And so I'm very sad that there's so much conflict, and to hear the reality behind the show may not be, it's not as cohesive as they presented, obviously, for the show.
Well, there's a lot of personalities.
Yeah.
So
we obviously heard the latest that was going on in the news is Sarah Jessica Parker reached out to Kim Cattrall after her brother sadly died and just gave her condolences, to which Kim Cattrall responded in a very kind of hostile way. Harsh. Why are you manipulating me? We're not friends. Any thoughts about that?
I have no problem with Sarah Jessica Parker reaching out to her, but what struck me, and we were talking about it before, is she did it on social media. If they were friends, you text, you call, you send a note, say, I'm really sorry. And I think, they're both fire signs. Sarah's an Aries and, Kim is a Leo. And, honestly, Kim has a bullshit meter. And I think she felt like Sarah was using it to her benefit and it was hurtful. And she's mourning.
Yeah.
So if it was done in a private way, that's one thing, but don't put it out there like that.
Why do you think she chose that? Was it a manipulation?
I think so. But I don't think she thought it was.
Yeah.
I just think that she thought she was being all cutesy and Kim wasn't going to have that. And unfortunately, I don't see her going back to the show because of that. She's mourning her brother's death. I know is not suspicious, but I do think he had some sort of genetic issue, either an aneurysm or heart thing, and I think he was depressed. And I definitely get a sense that he was possibly taking some sort of antidepressant. But the thing is that she's devastated because that was one of her best friends.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and I don't know if people knew that, yeah.
She was very close to him, my hair standing up. And the fact that he went missing makes me even think that it was a combination of, maybe a little bit too many meds because of the antidepressants, but I think he had a genetic defect.
That just went undetected.
And she should actually check herself now because I think that there's something predisposed.
Oh, interesting. So, but she was not going back to the show, your sense was, even before this?
I don't think so. She just thinks that the whole thing is poppycock.
All right. And, you get to a certain point where you just have to say no to things that
Absolutely.
don't feel like a good fit or are not healthy for you even
Absolutely.
on a physical level. But you say that there's still hope for the show, and one of your clients and friends...
Oh, my hair's sitting up.
Yes.
I still think they're going to do it. But,
Okay.
but I think that they're going to give the spot away to Vanessa Williams.
So we have a picture of Vanessa Williams too, and you, who's a dear friend and
Yes.
client of yours.
For a very long time.
She's gorgeous, and we
she's
would
lovely.
love her on the show. So
I'm going to
you
talk
guys
to
will have
her.
to come back. Yeah.
She's lovely.
Yeah, so I think she'd be great. I love that idea.
Well, she did Wisteria Boulevard. She did Desperate Housewives, and she
Yes.
does those parts very well.
And she was on something that Star Jones wrote, right? That,
Yes.
Was that the name of it?
I don't remember. I don't
the
remember
name,
what
but
it
she was really good at playing the bad one.
Oh, yeah, she's
and the sexy,
very good.
seductive.
She's
Yeah.
very good at that.
So I hope she'll consider maybe helping bring back Sex in the City
I think
with a
she
little
would.
spice and spunk.
Oh, she would.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
Because she loves that whole thing, and she doesn't want to get involved with their rivalry.
Right. So what would she be, a new friend or a new old friend?
I would think so. I think that they would bring her in, and say that Kim, Kim went and got married or something, and then kind of, sidestep. And look, this is a new person.
It's done in soap operas all the time.
Absolutely.
I think people can figure it out, and everybody knows the real
Absolutely.
story. Well, I guess we'll have to see. When do you see this happening? Maybe.
Probably over the next 9 to 18 months that the talks will be coming up.
Okay.
Because I know that right now is when the TV shows, bring new ideas to people now, and they pitch it to all the actors and actresses.
So we'll keep an eye open.
Yeah.
Also, if you have a question for Francine that you want us to deal with on the show, you need to give us your name, your birth date, and your question so that we can answer it properly. So just, if you have a question, let us know, and we will be, does anybody say anything? Not yet. Okay, so sometimes people like to kind of sit and ask questions later. They get a little shy for some reason. I don't know.
And then right before they're like,
okay. So Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, they certainly have been in the news lately. And they're just, she has a very interesting family. Oh my goodness. I mean,
but they're very educated.
Yeah, they seem educated, but there seems to be a lot of tension and fighting with the siblings anyway.
I think she's kind of ignoring all that.
Yeah.
Because it's her day. It's not about them. It's her day.
I like how regal she is.
She's beautiful, but she's also very
beautiful.
smart. And she's very sensual. She's a Renaissance woman, and she's a queen. And that's really what she is.
Interesting. I was reading somebody who had written many books about the royal family said that Meghan Markle is very much like Diana was, and that they very much are birds of a feather. How do you see their relationship?
I think it's going really well right now. And when I was on Good Day New York, like I kept on seeing pickles. So I still see a pregnancy if she's not now.
Okay.
I think like 3 months after the wedding. Oh. And I also see the possibility of twins, because anytime I see pickles and ice cream, I think of pregnancy. You know, but I keep on seeing that for her. I also think that they're going to have 3 different locations that they're going to live out of, because they're both a 1 or a 3, so they would live 1 place or 3 places. So she wants to travel.
Nice.
And she's a Leo, so she wants what she wants. And
she knows how to handle the limelight.
Absolutely.
Do you see her getting along with the rest of the royal family?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she commands her own presence, but she also knows how to take a step back. Because even a lot of the photos, the way that she is or certain things, she's always stepped behind him and let him be in the forefront, which is respectful.
Well, they certainly are fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
And it's nice to have an American in the royal
But also,
mix of things.
it's a big thing, you know, everyone talks about, you know, that she's biracial. I don't care. But it's still nice that that's something that she's breaking all the rules.
I like that too. I like
Absolutely.
that. I like a little rebel rouser.
Absolutely.
Since I have that in me myself. Now, Oprah is, a lot of people are talking about maybe her presidential run, or maybe people are interested or thinking, will she run? What's your sense?
So I go back and forth with that. She's an Aquarius like I am, but she's a January one. And I see her becoming political. I don't know if she would do the presidential thing, but I actually see her teaming up with Pink, because Pink is getting more and more into being an activist and using her voice to get a point out to help empower women.
And she's very good at it.
Yes. I see the 2 of them, and then I see one other person that may join ranks with them. I see a 3rd woman, but I don't know who that is yet.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, I think going into politics is just brutal, because they just bring you down. I would not subscribe to that.
But that could be why there's a 3rd person, and they can juggle, you know, and they use different types of genres. You can still be political and get your points out without running for Congress.
Right, but to run for president, that's a different ballgame.
I don't think she would do that.
No. Okay. So
you know,
we don't see that.
Well, partly because she's older, partly, not that she's old, but partly that I see her doing other things. She'd rather use her voice and her power to get her point out in a different way. I do see another TV show for her, though.
Oh, interesting.
She's going to produce her own show, and it's probably going to be geared in another country. Which I don't.
What country?
Somewhere where they don't have much money.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know why, but that keeps coming up.
That's interesting. J-Lo and Alex Rodriguez. We've seen them a lot.
I see them getting married.
You see them getting married. Yeah. Interesting.
But
okay.
But I don't see them doing it in a gala way yet. Okay. So she may elope with him first and then do something.
Do you think they're a good pairing?
They're an interesting couple. They're both Leos. Well, one of them is born in July and one is born in August. They're both Leos. The only thing is that they're both very strong-willed, so they have to learn how to navigate more. So they can't always be the boss. Okay. So that's the bigger thing, because she can't always be the guy, because she's used to that.
Yeah, but she's found her right match, you think?
I think that if it's not him, it's the closest she's ever come. Okay. Because anyone else that she's been with, she's eaten for breakfast.
I know.
And spit out 500 times.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I hope so. Do you think he's like smart enough for her? Because she seems really savvy.
He gives her a pushback, but not in a Gavon way.
Okay.
So like, he'll tell her to go scratch it, but in a nice way. He'll give her the pushback, but he's not a Vinny Gumbats.
Okay.
In that sense. So he'll tell her it would be nice if. It's just a different way of approaching it.
All right, well, good. So we'll look forward to seeing what happens there. It seems like they have a nice kind of extended family with his kids and her kids, and we'd like to see her happy. I think that would be really nice. Gwen Stefani and Blake Sheldon. I have my own feelings about this, but I want to hear about your feelings.
You know, when they were on, I watch The Voice. I don't watch a lot of TV. I watch The Voice, God help me, and the Cooking Channel all the time when I'm home on TV, and I saw the connection immediately. I think that they're kind of like a past life soulmate. Okay. And she's kind of motherly to him, and I think it's a nice combo. And I actually think that they're going to get married.
Okay.
Have
kids? Do you see them having kids? Because she's already older, not having kids. So
I mean, maybe adopt.
Okay.
Like J-Lo and A-Rod announcement around their birthdays. For these two, probably October, November.
Okay. Do you see Blake being loyal? Because it seems you do. What happened in his other relationship?
All I'm going to say is it takes two, and men generally, God help me, don't have the strength necessary to say no to something. And if another woman, it's beautiful, that's pursuing somebody, a lot of times a guy will break down.
Right.
But I think that the reason why he broke down is he was not happy and wasn't being satisfied in his other relationships.
Okay. All right.
But I think he's really a monogamous person.
All right. Because he's had a couple of relationships where he's fallen hard, and then it all breaks down. But you think this is a different kind of relationship?
I think so, because they're both an even number. He's a Gemini, she's a Libra. I think because she's a little older, she can anticipate his movements and kind of, I don't want to say stop him in the gates, but it's sort of like being psychic, like she knows where he's going.
Okay. All right.
And I think that there's a motherly thing, even though she's very sensual.
Yeah.
She's like the song, I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a mother, I'm a sinner, I'm a saint. She's all those, which all the other women didn't have that.
Ah, okay. So,
I'm sad because I liked him. I wanted him to go out with me, but
he is very tall.
Oh my God!
And country
and he's
singers
so
are very
kind.
down to earth.
And he's so kind.
Yeah, yeah.
He's just. I think that he was like a sad person, even though he's very kind. I think he was just looking for the right connection.
Yeah. I think everybody wants that at the
Absolutely.
end of the day. Now we talk about Johnny Depp.
So
Johnny Depp, poor Johnny Depp, he kind of got a bad rap the last time he was in a relationship with Amber Heard.
I'm going to talk about something that has nothing to do with a relationship.
Oh, okay.
He's a Gemini, so he's a particularly moody, and he's an even number, so he would either have 2 or 4 major relationships. But I actually see him writing and producing a movie coming up with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Wow.
Some sort of action suspense movie, kind of based on what the political things that are going on right now, like a thriller, and I could see them in it, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and he may meet somebody on the set.
Okay.
Somebody
would you go see it? Because I know you said you don't go to movies like
I like them, yes.
Okay, all
yeah,
right.
I would totally go see that. And I keep on getting the 2 of them collaborating, and I think that they did when they were like 19 or something. One of them was like 19 in an old movie. So they've worked together before. And maybe the guy from Mission Impossible will also get involved.
Is that Tom Cruise?
Tom Cruise, maybe. That could be the third person. But I see something that's going to be like wonderful.
I just saw Katie Holmes this past weekend. I was at a jazz place in Harlem. She wasn't with Jamie Foxx, but I also wonder about that relationship too. Any vibes there?
I don't see them together. No.
All right.
I don't think that's a permanent thing because the 2 of them get bored.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, relationships can produce boredom. It can produce many things, as we know. Quick 5.
Okay.
So these are the questions that I kind of borrowed that from Larry King, my talk show idol. If you weren't a psychic, what would your dream job be?
Designer.
A design, like for clothes, or?
An artist and or a chef.
Oh, chef. Nice.
Because that's still being very creative.
That would be my last job.
Yeah, I watch the cooking channel like all the time. And I cook, so it's creative.
That's a new show. If I were producing a show, The Psychic Chef.
That's what a couple people told me to do.
Yeah. Okay. So
I love the food.
I'm not original at all.
No, I
love that idea.
But I love the stuff with the food, and it's creative, and you get to get out your energy on things and try different things.
Yeah. Yeah. What is the most beautiful place that you've ever been to?
North Carolina. The Outer Banks, and with the horses, and I love the ocean.
It's got a nice vibe there. And people are friendly.
Yes.
I'm so used to New York, and I love New Yorkers, but I notice we have this edge compared to other people.
Yes.
I think because we have to.
But I met people there that knew me.
Really?
I went to North and South Carolina with my best friend, and each time I'm like, I know them, and she goes, get out of here. And then we're shopping in the grocery store, and I hear, hey, psychic lady.
Oh my gosh.
And then we were in South Carolina in a hotel bar, and I said, I know that woman, and she used to own a restaurant in City Island where I used to go. And she used to have a psychic there. So I'm like, I know her. And my friend looks at me and she goes, this is really bizarre. I can't go anywhere with you anymore. But we're from New York and I bump into people.
Yeah, you realize there's like 2 degrees sometimes of separation.
Absolutely.
Tell me the 3 best things about you.
I'm funny. I'm funny.
We can count that as 2.
Very direct.
I like that.
And I think I'm kind and loving.
And you're charismatic.
Thank you.
Did you say Leo was part of your sign?
So I'm an Aquarius.
Okay.
Tomorrow's my birthday.
Happy birthday. Let's all wish Francine happy birthday.
Thank you, thank you. My rising, so when you do astrology, you have your sun sign, which is how people see you.
Okay.
Your rising is business and also how people see you on a exterior level, and your moon is your emotions.
Okay.
So my moon is in Sag, which is a fire sign. So on a social level, sometimes I could be a little erratic, and I run. But the Taurus part of me is very business oriented, very grounded, and then the Aquarius is very Renaissance-y.
Yeah, it's a nice combination.
It can be, but it perpetuates my ADD, and I'm dyslexic, so it perpetuates it.
I just got diagnosed that I'm ADD. Francine diagnosed me. I'm like, yeah, that works for me. That explains
Makes you more creative.
my wardrobe, which is fantastic. What's the one guilty pleasure you enjoy too much to give up?
Red wine
Oh, nice.
and chocolate.
And you don't get headaches from red wine?
Nope.
You're lucky. Yeah.
No.
What do you think about more than anything else?
Trying to change the world,
Okay.
how they see things, and to pass on the word. You know, and I would love my own show. When I first started doing this, you know, it's over 30 years, I used to say I wanted to be well known because I thought being famous was egotistical. And now in retrospect, well, now I want to be well known, but not for the reasons you would think, because I want to help people more.
Because your message.
Absolutely.
And you feel you have a good one to share.
Well, I volunteer a lot of my time. I work on cases. So locally to me, I volunteer and I work with some of the local municipalities and the police, missing people and things like that. I don't do it to be in the limelight. For, you know, I just donate my time. If I have to travel, they have to pay for travel fees.
Right.
But the thing is, you want to help people. That's
Right.
what the real basis of
I
this.
think you'd be fantastic for both TV and
Thank you.
radio.
I love them both.
And I think you should have them both. That's according to me.
Thank
But
you.
I think I'm right. I'm usually right about those things.
Thank you.
And I would watch you, and I
Thank
would
you.
call in. And if anybody has any questions that they want to ask privately for Valentine's Day, we will have a link up so everybody can find Francine. And Ellen, if you're out there, Francine is willing to come on your show, so don't miss that opportunity. And thank you so much for joining us on Talking Live. We love having you. Have a very happy Valentine's Day, and we'll see you next week.
And thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you.